if we are dealing with a potential threat to humanity, even if the probability is small, we must, as you just said, we must consider it seriously, because
the alarm spreads before the data even finishes downloading. NASA's Operations Center goes quiet in the same instant the confirmation arrives. Hubble had to retarget 3I Atlas because its predicted motion was wrong again. It is the kind of correction no one expects from a billion-dollar telescope unless something in space is behaving abnormally. And tonight, the numbers simply don't line up with anything known. When Hubble captures the fresh images on November 30th, scientists lean in immediately. The object is there, hanging in the void like a cold, drifting ember, but something about it feels off. Then the first anomaly hits. Its brightness is pulsing, not steadily glowing, but flickering in uneven bursts as if the object is responding to an invisible trigger. The pulses don't match any known rotation, any thermal cycle, any jet pattern. To the researchers watching, it almost feels like the comet is reacting. Its Coma, supposed to be thin and fading at this distance, looks thick, inflated, and over-energized, glowing far more intensely than any model dared to predict. Behind closed doors, murmurs rise. No one wants to say it aloud, but every expert senses the same pressure in the room. This is not what a comet 178 million miles from Earth should look like. Worse, the nucleus remains a complete mystery. Instead of narrowing estimates, analysts now face a disturbing range from 1,400 feet to 3.5 miles. That level of uncertainty is almost unheard of at this stage, and the implication is unsettling. They still have no idea what they are actually looking at. Then another shock. Hubble's tracking logs reveal the telescope had to adjust its aim manually. The object drifted faster than projected, sliding across the sky with a strange momentum that stretched background stars into streaks during long exposures. Something is pushing it, or pulling it, or forcing it into a pattern no algorithm has successfully predicted. Some whisper asymmetric jets, others suggest hidden mass shedding. But nothing fits. No known natural force can explain why the object keeps changing speed and behavior with this level of inconsistency. NASA teams privately admit the truth they won't share publicly. The level of activity displayed in the images is impossible for an object this far from the sun. Its coma should be shrinking. Its energy should be dropping. Instead, everything is rising: brightness, turbulence, jet strength, rotational shifts. Astronomers stare at the data, realizing they are witnessing something never recorded from an interstellar visitor. The tension becomes suffocating as December draws closer. The object is behaving like a body energized from within, something driving it, something stirring beneath the surface. And now, behind the scenes, one quiet question grows louder every day. Why is 3I Atlas accelerating and brightening, when nothing in space should be pushing it? The next data set is already on its way, and scientists fear it will only deepen the mystery. Panic began the moment the partial image arrived. It wasn't even a full transmission, just 1/4 of a single navigation camera frame, yet the fragment hit ESA's mission center like an alarm bell no one was prepared for. Engineers watching the telemetry stream stall at 25% froze, realizing the system had delivered something but not enough. Scientists were pulled into instant late-night emergency calls, their screens glowing with a picture that should not have been possible from 41 million miles away. Even in that tiny sliver, 3I Atlas looked wrong. The comet wasn't calm after perihelion the way models insisted it should be. It wasn't cooling, dimming, or stabilizing. Instead, the fragment revealed an object roaring with energy, behaving as if something had triggered a violent internal awakening. Two tails were visible, sharper, brighter, and longer than any scientist expected at this distance. The first tail looked like a vertical blade of plasma, a charged stream shooting upward in a way that suggested a strong electrical interaction. It was the type of structure usually seen up close, not tens of millions of miles away. The second tail bent sharply, curling off at an unnatural angle, defying the direction of the solar wind. Researchers stared at the curve, whispering the same unsettling question. What force pushed it sideways like that? The timing only deepened the fear. This spike in aggression came only 3 days after perihelion, when the comet should have been calming, yet instead it seemed to be ramping up. Every known model of comet physics said this behavior was impossible, especially for an interstellar object with no known history or predictable structure. Even stranger, the halo surrounding the nucleus appeared swollen, stretched outward as if something inside the comet was generating bursts of heat or expanding pressure. It looked less like a natural coma and more like a system reacting to sudden internal surges. Inside the mission room, someone finally said what everyone was thinking. This isn't normal. This is activation. The team applied the rare classification very active, a label almost never used for comets at this distance, and that was based on only 25% of a single frame. If the fragment alone showed this much intensity, what would the missing 3/4 reveal? Quiet tension spread as scientists realized the truth. They weren't looking at the whole picture. They weren't even close. The full image set from JUICE wouldn't be available until February, long after the comet passes Earth's sector, meaning the data that could explain this violent transformation would arrive too late to guide any real-time understanding. And as the room fell silent, a new fear formed. If 1/4 of an image caused this much alarm, what nightmare hides in the rest of it? And that question leads directly into the next part, where the comet's unexpected post-perihelion activation shocks every scientist watching it. The alarms began the moment October 30th ended. The instant 3I Atlas crossed perihelion, scientists expected the usual decline, a slow fading, a gentle cooling, a predictable retreat. Instead, the opposite happened. The comet exploded into a new phase of violence. Within hours, mission teams watched the brightness spike in unpredictable bursts, as if something inside the object had turned on rather than shut down. Jets didn't just fire. They whipped out in wild, mismatched directions, breaking every known pattern for a cooling comet. The Coma, which should have begun collapsing, grew thicker, denser, and more chaotic, like a storm building from the inside out. It was as if 3I Atlas refused to obey any rule of thermodynamics. Instead of losing heat, it seemed to be generating it. Researchers froze as they compared live data to their models. Every projection they built assumed the same thing, that once the comet rounded the sun, the peak was over. But the new readings showed a rising curve of activity, sharp, jagged, accelerating, something never recorded from an interstellar object entering the solar system. The reversal forced a terrifying question. What kind of energy source is powering this thing? If sunlight wasn't the trigger, then something internal was driving the eruptions, pressure building inside fractured layers, trapped volatile pockets releasing all at once, or forces no one had the vocabulary to describe yet. Some scientists whispered about radiation from deep within the nucleus. Others suspected a fragmentation sequence starting earlier than predicted. But the truth was simpler and far more unsettling. No one had any idea what was causing it. Each new data set destroyed the previous one within hours. Charts updated in real time, only to become obsolete minutes later. Telescopes watched the comet behave like a living system, surging, stabilizing, surging again, as if responding to triggers no instrument could identify. And now, as it angles toward Earth's sector, that instability matters more than ever. Because even NASA admits they cannot model what the next activation surge will look like, or when it will strike. And this rising chaos leads directly into the next mystery scientists are terrified to confront. The fear began the moment NASA quietly uploaded its November 19th image set, photos that weren't supposed to be released this early. Scientists opened them expecting clarity. Instead, they found something far worse. 3I Atlas was changing, and fast. The new images didn't show a stable comet drifting through space. They showed an object twisting, warping, reshaping itself as if its structure were being rewritten from the inside out. Astrophysicists stared in disbelief as they realized the nucleus wasn't consistent from frame to frame. In one image, its edges looked smooth. In the next, sharp fractures sliced across the surface like stress lines on something under extreme pressure. What terrified them even more were the asymmetrical jets blasting out at angles no model could justify. Some jets curved sharply, as if diverted by an internal magnetic field. Others spread into wide plumes that resembled expanding shock fronts. The Coma warped around these eruptions, bulging outward in one frame, collapsing inward in the next, almost like the object was breathing. And the dust tail, it bent the wrong way, not slightly, not occasionally, but consistently. Solar wind should push dust outward in predictable directions, but here, the tail swerved against expected flow patterns, curling around the nucleus as if pulled by something hidden inside the comet itself. The effect was so unnatural that NASA's own documentation used the phrase "new characteristics," a phrase insiders say is code for something's wrong and we don't know what. Some scientists now whisper about internal instability, voids, fractures, or cavities forming deep within the core. If true, it means the object isn't just active, it's unstable. Pieces could be shifting, cracking, rearranging in real time. Something inside it might be heating, expanding, or exerting force outward. Then came the most unsettling frames. Sudden brightness spikes, short, violent flashes frozen in a single exposure, too quick to be explained by sunlight. They weren't steady jets. They weren't solar reflections. They looked like bursts, pulses, events. Each new image contradicted the last, destroying every prediction made just days earlier. It was as if the comet refused to be understood, morphing faster than scientists could model. Behind closed doors, researchers admit they've never seen an interstellar visitor behave like this. Not Oumuamua. Not Borisov. Nothing in recorded observation has ever changed this dramatically in such a short span of time. And now the chilling truth sits on screens across NASA, ESA, and university labs worldwide. The more they study 3I Atlas, the less it resembles a comet, and the more it resembles something undergoing an unknown internal process. Worse, the changes are speeding up. And as analysts brace for the next data set, they fear the question no one wants to ask out loud. If this is what the object looks like now, what will it look like next? The alarm begins the moment analysts notice something they were never supposed to see. 3I Atlas is drifting. Not wildly, not dramatically, but just enough to break every rule of how an interstellar comet should behave. At 137,000 miles per hour, even a microscopic change in direction becomes a red flag. And now those red flags are appearing again and again across NASA and ESA trajectory logs. Every update forces the same unsettling conclusion. The object is not following the path gravity has given it. The deviations are tiny, but they're repeating, and repetition means something is pushing it, something unknown, something internal. Hubble's tracking problems were the first warning shot. The telescope struggled to lock onto the nucleus, not because of equipment failure, but because the comet kept shifting faster than prediction models allowed. To mission scientists, that suggested non-gravitational acceleration, a phenomenon seen before, but never at this intensity, never with this consistency, and never from an object that came from the direction of the galactic center. Researchers tried to calm themselves by blaming jets of gas, but the math doesn't line up. The jets visible in recent imagery don't point in the right directions, they don't fire with the right timing, and they don't produce the pattern of motion analysts are seeing. It's as if the comet is being nudged by forces no model can fully map. Others whisper about rapid mass shedding, violent internal fracture cycles happening too fast to catch on camera. But if that were true, why hasn't the comet dimmed? Why does it only grow brighter, more energized, more unpredictable with each passing day? Even its birthplace, the dense, chaotic region of Sagittarius, now feels like a clue no one knows how to interpret. What chemical mix survives ejection from the galactic center? What structure remains stable after crossing that turbulent region of the Milky Way? NASA continues telling the public there's no threat, but behind closed doors, teams recalculate the object's course every single day, watching for one thing: drift acceleration. Because the deviations aren't random, they're consistent. And consistency means a process is repeating inside the object, a process no one can see, predict, or stop. Orbital analysts know the truth they cannot say out loud. If the force causing these shifts strengthens even slightly, the December 19th distance could shift with it. And as that possibility hangs over every late-night briefing, a far more chilling question begins to take shape, a question the next section will force into the open. Tension spikes the moment NASA steps up to the podium and repeats the same calm message. No aliens, no threat. But behind locked lab doors, no one is calm. Scientists who have watched 3I 8-less shift, flare, and twist in ways no comet should are now speaking in hushed, uneasy voices. They know the public story is only half the truth because the data landing on their screens refuses to behave. What scares them most is simple. The comet is no longer acting like a comet. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, one of the few who speaks candidly, admits that while 3I Atlas is likely natural, he will not dismiss exotic possibilities. And the moment he refuses to close that door, speculation surges inside research circles. Unknown forces, unknown physics, unknown intentions. No one is saying it out loud, but everyone feels it. Every new anomaly deepens the rift between public reassurance and private fear. The violent activation after perihelion, the shifting blade-like tails, the unpredictable rotation changes that appear out of nowhere, the subtle acceleration that refuses to match any model. One scientist described the pattern best. It's like the object is responding to something we cannot measure. Then came ESA's juice fragment, the tiny slice of an image never meant to be so revealing. Just 1/4 of a photo, yet it showed a structure so reactive, so energized, that the team canceled their evening plans and held an emergency midnight briefing. If 1/4 looks like that, the rest of the image might hold something far worse. But they won't see the full data set until February, long after the object passes Earth's sector. To the public, NASA's tone is steady, professional, controlled, almost soothing. To the researchers, every incoming update feels like a new warning. 3I 8-less is shifting faster, brightening harder, defying predictions more aggressively each day. And now, with no major imaging windows left before December 19th, the world's top space agencies are preparing to watch blind. Whatever happens next will unfold without the clarity of fresh observations. For scientists, that is the real danger, facing an object rewriting the rules of interstellar behavior in real time, with no way to see its next move coming. because the most chilling truth remains unchanged. Every update brings new questions, not answers. This is no longer the calm, predictable wanderer they expected back in July. And as the comet approaches Earth's sector, one question grows heavier, sharper, impossible to ignore. What will 3I-8less do next?